Hey, worship teams, thanks for joining us. Great to have you today. We got a fantastic show, and man, we're coming at you live. And just Swift and myself, we're going to be doing this show together. We're going to be waiting for the rest of the crew to show up because actually, some of them are traveling right now. So, Swift, it looks like it's just me and you, man. How are you today?
I'm awesome, man. I'm sitting here in the office of Revolution Church, my home church. I'm excited and I'm pumped and ready to do this show today.
Awesome, awesome. I like the guitar back there too.
Yeah, it's a nice guitar. I drew it myself.
Did you with your own crayons?
I followed the lines. I traced it within
That's
the lines and colored it up myself.
I usually do paint by number.
I know that'd probably be upset with that I said that. That's his painting.
Oh,
I'm in the worship pastor's office.
he's in the room right now. Swift,
How are you doing?
he meant every word he said, by the way, worship pastor.
Yeah.
That's good.
We're going to have him on as a guest probably. We'll see what happens.
We'll see. Well, you've been doing a pretty good job yourself so far, so you're still with us.
I know last week I was late. I was traveling, but I was trying to get connected. It was hilarious, but I hate that I missed it. But we'll figure it out from now, and we'll build from there.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the rest of the day goes today.
Yeah.
So great. Well, great to have everybody here today. Last on the worship team hangout, we talked about the epidemic of what to do with your rehearsals and when things go south, how to prepare for it. It's a great show. We had a lot of great words there from Tony, Stefanie, and Timmons. So if you want to watch that, be sure to go back to the link that we had 2 weeks ago, and we'll have that up there. And coming up next week is our season finale, and you're going to love this, Swift. Season finale show. We've been really digging it. We've been hearing a lot from you, and as far as what everybody can do, and as far as the topics are concerned, there's been a lot of great sharing in between. And basically, we've come down to this as far as next week, and I'm so excited. It's going to be called, what was it? It's going to be called Something. And it was a great show already. I had it in my mind, and it went south. It went somewhere. But that's kind of like the same thing with recovery. No, the next show that we're doing.
It's me and you.
I know, because Tony's not here to like banter and cut me off, and I have to take control. And Timmons,
Something.
whatever you say. No, actually, the show that we have next week, actually in 2 weeks from now,
Okay.
season finale, is going to be the divas. What do you do with the divas and the peeves and the sleeves?
Wow.
We're going to be dealing with attitude.
Wow.
And how that affects your worship team. A lot of guys been talking about that, and I just been itching the whole past 2 weeks. But today, we're here to talk about something else that a lot of you guys go through, and we've been talking about this now in our articles and posts for the past week, and that is what to do with the singer in your team that can't sing. Most of us, you've gone through auditions
Yes.
already, or
Yes.
you maybe have already inherited them, or they've just asked to join your team. Now, not every worship team has a great standard audition process. Sometimes you're faced to just deal with the singers that are in your church and those that are able to volunteer. So what do you do when you come across those in your team or that one person who can't sing? So, Swift, what do you say to that?
Well, I mean, some places are set up different. Some praise and worship are set up different. When you have praise and worship, you have the choir or the chorus or whatever you want to call that now, and then you have the guy that leads the worship leader that leads. So dealing with when you have a praise and worship, I would hope that you will audition. I usually audition because we use like a band. We don't hardly ever use just a straight up chorus just back in the band. We have like a full band. So anybody that comes in, we audition them. But there's been times where people have actually slipped under the cracks, and they kind of inherited a position. So to answer your question, sorry, what do? I usually talk to people and just try to be as honest as possible, but not brutally honest.
How brutal and how honest?
Well, I try to give them constructive criticism by maybe saying, hey, You know, God has called us to do many things, and we all have many talents. And you know, maybe this part of volunteering you might not, you know, be called to do. You may be called to do something else different. But I would love to use your heart because, you know, evidently you're inspired by God's word and you want to volunteer. So I would love to use your heart somewhere else, and that's normally.
But singing is my gift, man. I mean, singing is what I do. It's who I am.
It is, and I love the way you express that. But I think expressing it here
from the heart, man. It's from the heart. You're killing me. You're killing me, Swift.
I love you. I love you. This is all in love.
But why can't I sing on your worship team?
Because I want to support you in what you do best. And I think this is probably not one of the things that you do best. That doesn't mean that it's bad. It's just, this is not.
Oh, that hurts. Oh, that hurts. Oh, man. Right to the heart. I feel like Bob Wiley right now.
Now, here's another thing you got to do, though. You got to have this face-to-face alone with them. You can't have an audience with you. So don't have another person in there or anything like that. Make sure that you have someone else with you, like if they're on staff or they're part of the band. You know, it's hard when it's a friend, because one time I had a guy that played guitar, and he was a phenomenal guitar player. And then he came to me and said, I feel like God is leading me to also sing and do vocals. So I said, okay, this is fair. Let's audition you. And, you know, he said, okay, I'll get ready and I'll be prepared. And I had never heard him sing.
Yeah.
And, man, he sung, and I was like, see, I just don't believe that.
It was all in the eye. Right there, it's all in the eye. That said everything that needed to be said.
My eye said, I mean,
you don't have to say a word.
And you know, it's really not funny, but it's like the reality of people getting their heart broken and leaving the church over stuff like this.
Yeah, right.
Is really you know, detrimental. You don't want that to happen, because you see people that are like trying to get up enough nerve, first of all, just to start volunteering, and you just don't want to crush their dreams. But at the same time, you want to try to redirect them with a positive input, right?
Okay, all right. Now I want to interrupt right there. Is it about giving that person their dreams? Because you just said that. You said that.
I did say dreams.
You just said that. So the question is, do we give them a position to fulfill their dreams?
Well, quote unquote dreams. I got you. Okay. You're right. It's about serving, and it's about.
It's a good question.
It is a good question, because you said, "Oh, you're just breaking my heart. You're crushing me," and so, you know, automatically it popped up in my head. I'm throwing it back at you. So,
all right.
Yeah, I didn't want to crush your dreams.
Go ahead. That's all right. You can't crush my dreams. I'm living it. I'm living the dream.
You are living it, man.
I'm living the dream. So tell us then, you know, when you're in that situation with a worship team member and you know that they can't sing, the question then, how do you handle that?
Well, again, I really like to get them one-on-one and just kind of explain my position and what I'm here to do as a worship pastor, and that's to bring excellence, you know, in worship, and try to stay away from distractions. And maybe this is, you know, not saying that they're a distraction, but, you know, my job is to facilitate the worship team with the best that we have.
Right.
And we have a standard that we're trying to meet. So I sit down with this person and I explain to them that, hey, you know, I think it would be great if, you know, we had you do volunteering in somewhere else. Like, you know, we have stage managers that we use here. There's other things that you can do in production that could be just as effective, more than just singing. So, I mean, I would try to redirect them into a different area of volunteering besides singing.
Right.
That's
right.
Why.
Well,
I mean, you can't be held responsible for the outcome completely, because that a person, the way they handle yourself. You can just try to be the best leader you can be, and just try to lead positive.
Right. Well, and that's the difficulty with a lot of worship leaders. I mean, we even at our church we have volunteers that step up and they want to sing, but there should be some kind of an audition process. Now, the question then, what do you do with singers who can't sing that maybe you've inherited into that team, or it just comes down to that's all that you have to work with, which is where a lot of people live. And in my case, like what I typically do, I try to just work with them the best I can to encourage them to get lessons and to work with them maybe before rehearsal with the piano and with their voice and try to improve on the tough areas, because sometimes in these smaller worship teams, that's all they have to work with. And you can't just, here's the double caveat. You can't have a bad worship service by having people that are inadequate in what they do just because of the fact that it could be a frustration point for them,
right,
and for the team and for the church. But as leaders and servants of God, we are to help train people in the right way to use their gift. And then I love your approach and what you said, that you go to them if it's really not working and just say, hey, I think that maybe your gift is better served, whether it be in the choir or have that heart-to-heart to talk with them and find out, what other ministry they can join.
Yeah, I mean, especially like if you have, like most churches now, and we can't leave out some of the small churches that are doing less production, like a size church that we're running.
Right.
So, we have, we have CG, you have lighting, we have a producer, and all of those different things that facilitates volunteers too. So, I mean, if you're in a smaller environment, I would say to, try to be prepared. Hopefully you're watching this, and try to be prepared to have another outlet set up for them just in case that happens. So, that's one of the ways that you can also prepare for a bad audition. Have another outlet. So when that person audition and they don't sound like you thought they would sound, you have another outlet for them to keep them locked in and keep them still involved. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that people stay connected in the community that we're running and continue to build strong relationship with Christ. And if you're going to be a part of that community that's helping facilitate that, we got to create a system to where there's so many different outlets you can use that you're not crushing them.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we have to have some kind of a fail-safe or fallback approach to what you do in the worship team. Now let's take another angle. Let's say that you're with them in the vocal team, and they do something vocally that's just out in left field. How would you address that?
I'm laughing because that has happened before.
Everyone's laughing right now because they have that one or two people.
Oh my goodness, man! You have some hard questions today.
I know. I would say let's see what Tony has to say about this. Tony, are you there, Tony? Okay, Tony's not coming in that well. So, yeah, there he is. So let's see what Tony has to say about that. Okay, and that's just as good as what we're going to get from Tony.
Right.
So anyway,
I'll answer that. What was the question again? Come again.
If you have someone in your vocal team, they do something out of left field, what do you do? How do you handle it?
Again, you would have to have that. Is this doing rehearsal or doing live worship?
Anywhere you want.
All right.
Because it's going to happen.
It is. It's happened before. So you would, after, let's say you just have one service. Let's say you don't have two or five like some churches have.
Right.
You sit down and you kind of pull them to the side and get a one-on-one again. I think one-on-ones are more effective than having in front of everyone, because that doesn't do any good for anybody. Mm-hmm. You have a one-on-one with them and say, hey man, I don't know where you were going with that. I don't think we practiced that, but I like the way you're thinking, But here's the deal: we
Right.
have to stay, we have to stay within what we practice. And I know the Spirit may have been leading you somewhere else, but we don't want to create any distractions off of what we're doing, and that's getting people engaged in worship. So that would be my conversation.
Yeah.
I would try to just make sure that they're focused on engaging people in worship, because we're trying to usher in the Spirit to get them prepared for the lead pastor. So if we can just let them know kind of up front, this is what we're about, then I think you'll have a better chance with having that hard talk or that one-on-one conversation.
Well, and I appreciate that statement too, because we have to be concerned with the hearts and with the relationships of those that we serve with. They are our team and they are people, and we are there to build them up.
That's right.
However, we do have singers that need that constructive feedback from us.
Right.
And because we are in leadership, we should be giving them the concrete answers that they need. So, for instance, if a singer does something like they come into harmony right away at the top of the song, and maybe it's not appropriate or it's not what we rehearsed, I simply just, we pause the music for a second, and I'll address the singers right away and just say, hey, guys, and it may be, let's say Larry, for instance. Larry comes in with the higher harmony, and no one was expecting it.
Is this practice, though, or live?
This is practice.
Okay.
This is practice. So if I'm in practice, I'll just say, hey, Larry, it sounds great what you're doing. I like that harmony part. However, can you save that to the chorus? Because that's really where the harmonies need to just come together. And I think that if we communicate positively what we want, instead of just saying things like, well, don't sing that, or that sounded terrible.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to ever do that.
It only breeds negativity. Now, in a live setting of worship, how I would handle that, I would just look over at the person, and I would just use hand signals to either, back off or stop, and I would just put my hand, behind my back, and, if I can do it that way.
Yeah.
And look like a chicken when I do it. But I would actually just cue the guys and just say, hey, that's good. And I would probably just back off instrumentally if I'm playing the instrument, and just let the one voice, one instrument sing, and I would kind of guide the crew into that direction.
Yeah, kind of redirect the focus a little bit. But
exactly.
See, what happens when you're in the moment and you're singing, you got your eyes closed and you're in the middle of worship, and then, bam, they belt out that harmony that you've never heard before, right?
Right.
It could, sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. But if you have more than one service, I would definitely pull them to the side and say, hey, listen, that was awesome, but we don't want to use that.
Yeah, that's right. Now we've covered the basics so far. We talked already about the what do you do if the singer can't sing? How do you help them? And then if they don't pan out on the team. Now, one final question that I have is, what do you do if they don't leave? What do you do if they keep coming back saying, yeah, but, Swift, I really want to sing?
Wow. Now, this, I don't know if this sounds cliche or not, but, I mean, me personally, I love to pray all the time, and I love to pray with people. I think at that point, I would sit down and say, hey, man, listen, I've really been thinking this through, and I understand that, you keep returning and, you really want to be involved. Why don't we pray together and try to figure this thing out and give it some time to, be concreted in your heart, and talk to God about that and see where you get led. But at the same time, because that could come back as, well, God told me.
That's right.
God told me that I should be singing. Well, you may need to be in production.
That's right.
So, man, in all honesty, and I'm laughing and stuff, but I've really dealt with people that really had the hearts of lions, and they were serious about wanting to be a part of it, man. And it was just heartbreaking to kind of tell them that, because they're good people and they really love Jesus, and they love you, and they love everything about the church. And, you have to tell them these things. But, again, I focus in on what my job is, so they'll get a better understanding why I'm doing this, and not just me making a judgment call like I'm better than them. It's like I'm pushing it out in front of me saying, look, this is my job. This is why I'm doing this. So they can kind of connect the dots on, like, if they were somewhere working and somebody was doing something that didn't fit the expectation of their job.
Yeah.
So I try to do that. Does that make sense? I
Yeah.
hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say out there.
Yeah, it does. I mean, explaining your position and, you know, and putting it in a ministry context of how I can serve you is one great way to have that conversation. And I always go back also to what a great mentor of mine, Stan Endicott, had always said, that you just ask the question to them. Ask questions of, you know, how do you think this is working, and how do you see yourself on the team? And you come to a point where you let them make the decision of instead of you intruding on it, because, you know, by asking questions is another way to engage and validate, but also to show respect. And you're not coming across saying, hey, this is not working for us. But let's face it, when the person's just not sounding good, I mean, if it's a singer or musician, they know they're not sounding good deep down in their heart. They know that. So it's a point that we need to be gentle. It's an area that we need to be sensitive, and just simply say, hey, you know, I want this to be a ministry for you and not a frustration, but here's what I'm going to do to help you. So I think if we offer two things, them kind of a relief of it all, but also a way out to help, gives them something that they can stand on instead of just putting them to the side. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, folks. Wish we could do more, but you got to join us back at the next episode.
Man, I had something good.
Thanks. I know, but you're going to have to save it, baby. You're going to have to save it. But thanks so much for joining us, Swift. It's great to have you. And
always a pleasure to be here with you, my friend.
Well, it's always a pleasure with you. You're fantastic, and I love having you here. And we miss Stefanie, Timmons, and Tony. They'll be back with us on the next season finale. That's August the 20th, 2014. Woo! The topic, again, divas, peeves, and sleeves. All about attitude.
That's awesome.
Make sure you're ready. Thank you very much. And you got to be ready, because we are. And be ready to go into season 2 of the Hangout starting this September 3rd. For everything else, please check us back out at worshipteamtraining.com. Find us on Facebook, where everything is updated there. Facebook/worshipteamtraining.com. Twitter, Google, YouTube, of course. And thank you guys for joining us. Also, shout out to those in the UK. Thanks for following us this morning, because we heard some of you were talking about the show.
Thanks, Max.
And everybody else around the country, our friends and fans, we love you. So have a great rest of your week. God bless your day. See ya.